All right, welcome guys to the two-game NBA stream today. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name's DK. We'll take a look at what we know so far. We're really not waiting on any injury news because we got the Mike Conley news ahead of time. Take a look at the Vegas odds really quick, and then I'll go team by team, talk about the players I like. Leave a little bit of time for questions at the end. So, yeah, let's just start with what we know. Again, I went over that we got that Conley news early. He was ruled out. That's what I expected to. So with that being said, I think, Ingles, Clarkson, they obviously get the biggest boost minutes wise. Ingles should start and play over 30 minutes. Clarkson probably pushes for 30 minutes. And then you get a slight boost down to Mitchell as well, who went crazy last game. So those are the three guys I'm really looking to for the Jazz when Conley is not available. And we already have the starters for the Bucks. Same starters last couple games of Drew, Middleton, Giannis, PJ Tucker, and Brook Lopez. All right, so let's take a look at these Vegas odds really quick. First game is 10 points, 10.5 points higher than the second with the Milwaukee Bucks, 3.5 point favorites, 233.5 over under. And then the Clippers Jazz, the late night game, 223 over under. The Jazz are 2.5 point favorites. What's going on, guys? Appreciate that. Yeah, got the fresh cut. Nadeem with the $10 super chat. Thank you, man. A little thank you for my takedown last night. Appreciate you, UK. Hey, big win. Congrats, man. That was a huge night. You deserve it too. You've been grinding it out, and thank you. That's again not necessary, but very, very nice of you. So congrats again. Like 13K or something? You had a big day. So DK Sabonis. Yeah. All right. So let's start off, I guess, with Brooklyn and Milwaukee, guys. Real quick, if you're just coming in, hit that like button. Again, helps me out a lot, guys. And, yeah, let's start it off here. So Kevin Durant at 10.6K, I think is going to be one of the more popular plays of the slate. I mean, watching that game a couple days ago, he just looked unstoppable. Like, that mid-range jumper for KD is just, you can't stop it. And he's been shooting lights out. He's been shooting the ball really, really well. Another positive with KD, too, is the minutes, right? He's going to play over 40 minutes if this game stays competitive. He played 33 and 3/4. So I do like Kevin Durant. I think he's one of the better spend-ups of the slate. And same thing with Kyrie Irving with James Harden out. Again, Irving will play a lot more of the point guard. He had 6 assists last game in 3/4. So, yeah, I like both KD and Kyrie. I don't think it's really a contrarian take. With Harden out, they get a pretty big boost. Usage boost, and then Kyrie with the fact that he'll handle the ball a lot more. And both, again, Kyrie, game one, he played 45 minutes. So, I like both these nuts guys a lot here, the top two. Joe Harris, not much interest here. Not completely out of play, but just a dart throw in larger field stuff. Got to hit his shots, as I always say with Joe Harris. Doesn't do anything in the peripheral stats department. And he really doesn't get a boost with Harden off the court, right? He's kind of like a Bojan Bogdanovic, right? With Conley out, Bojan doesn't get a boost. It is, Clarkson, Ingles, and Mitchell. And with Harden out, again, it's not Joe Harris, right? It's Kyrie, KD, and then, guys like Blake Griffin and Bruce Brown that actually get a boost. Joe Harris' role doesn't change. He's still a guy that's going to run around the perimeter, chuck threes, and that's about it. So, yes, he can get hot, where we saw that one game last series where he couldn't miss from three and went for 40-plus fantasy points, but you kind of need that one of those games. Other than that, he'll probably hover in the 15 to 25 fantasy point range, which isn't going to get it done at 5'7". Now we get to the Nets value. So I am pretty high on the Nets value here, guys. Griffin, Bruce Brown, Mike James have interest in all three. I think Blake Griffin plays 30 to 35 minutes. He played 26 minutes in 3/4. The one thing you have to slightly worry about with Blake is, potential for foul trouble against a guy like Giannis. He'll be on Giannis a decent amount. But yeah, Blake seems to have really turned a corner in this series. He's looking a little bit like his old self. So I think Blake Griffin's a really solid value. I think Bruce Brown's a really solid value too. He played 26 minutes in 3/4. I think we get somewhere around 25 minutes, maybe a little bit more. He started last game for 13, 6, and 4. He's kind of a do-it-all guy. He's a decent rebounder for a guard. Can get some assists and blocks and steals. I think Bruce Brown's a good value, and I like Mike James off the bench too. Played 24 minutes, played a little bit there in garbage time, but then got pulled. I'm expecting similar run, maybe about 25 minutes, possibly more. He played 32 games ago. Mike James is a good offensive player too. So, yeah, I like all three of those value guys for Brooklyn. All three, I think, look pretty solid. Jeff Green's still out. Obviously, Harden's still out. And then two other guys got to mention because they're in the rotation is Shamet and Claxton. Shamet, pretty low usage guy. Probably gets around 10 to 15 minutes. Don't have a ton of interest in him. He had a good game last game. We'll just rather get to those other Nets value I talked about. And then Claxton, I think you make the argument for. He's Blake Griffin's backup. If Blake Griffin does get in that foul trouble, it's most likely Claxton coming in. And Claxton is a good point per minute guy. So I'm going to take a shot on one of these mid-range guys. It would be Claxton over a guy like Landry Shamet. And then that was the rotation. Besides garbage time, those were the guys that played. So 8-man rotation with Shamet and Claxton probably playing 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, I think all of the top guys besides Joe Harris look good here for Brooklyn. Let's move on to Milwaukee. They're still 3.5-point favorites. The odds haven't moved. So I'm praying this game can stay close because, again, this is the much more appealing game for DFS purposes. Unfortunately, last time it blew out. But, yeah, Giannis had to combo at 11.1K. Right up there with KD for one of the best spend-ups of the slate. KD is a little bit cheaper. Might get a little bit more ownership because of that price point. But I still like Giannis a lot here at home. I feel like they're going to definitely, hopefully, keep this game competitive. And if we do get a competitive game, should get about 40 minutes from Giannis. We know he's a guy that can do it all, right? So I do like Giannis there at the top. Now, with Middleton and Jrue Holiday, Middleton's at a higher usage rate. He's shot the ball a ton, 23 and 20 shot attempts the last two games. He's just not been making any shots. So if Middleton can get a shot going, he's a guy that can go for 40 to 50 fantasy points. So I have some interest in him. Does he continue to shoot like 25% from the series? I don't think so. You think it would turn around. And then Jrue Holiday, I think he's got to be a little more aggressive on the offensive end. He had a really good series against Miami. Kind of cooled off here the first couple games against Brooklyn. We know he's a guy that will handle the ball a good amount, right? He has the floor with the assist, a decent score as well, and I like the matchup too. So, again, I have interest in all three of the guys for the Bucks in an up-tempo game that should stay competitive. And then Brook Lopez. I actually think it's a pretty safe play. Now, if I was the coach for Milwaukee, again, I mentioned this in my YouTube video, I would play Brook Lopez a lot less. He's got cement on his feet. He can barely move. He's not really, playing around the rim, so he's not killing the Nets, an undersized Nets team on the glass, and he's just a liability on the defensive end. So, in my opinion, I think they should play him a lot less. I do. But, again, I'm not the coach. Budenholzer's the coach, so I think we probably get around 30 minutes from Brook Lopez, and he's been a decent point per minute guy. He's got to knock down some threes, so I think Brook Lopez is pretty safe. Again, if I was the coach, though, he would be playing a lot less in this series. And then the rest of the Bucks value, it's hard to trust anyone here. Forbes, it's hard to trust because all he does is shoot, and if he doesn't hit his shots, he has a low floor. Now, is he playable? Yeah, he is. He'll be lower owned. I just would rather get to the Nets value that I just mentioned. Bobby Portis. I tried taking a shot at him in tournaments last slate. It went awful. But that doesn't mean he can't go out and go get you 20 fancy points here. He should play 15 to 20 minutes on the bench. We know, besides the last game, Bobby Portis is a good point per minute guy. Averaging 15 to 20 fancy points. So, yeah, I have some interest in Portis as a contrarian value play. Connaughton and Tucker, low usage guys. If Connaughton has a good game, he can probably get 15 to 20 fancy points. I think there's better value in the board. And same thing I'll say about PJ Tucker. Like, Tucker should play 25-ish minutes, 25 to 30. They kind of need him out there in the defensive end. Just be ready for, if you play him for, 10 fancy points, because that is a floor with PJ Tucker. Single-digit fancy point floor, honestly. So, Tucker, playable. Connaughton, playable. But I would say more contrarian. I think I prefer other value on the slate. And that was really the rotation here for the Nets in the first couple games. It was 8-man rotation. All right, so let's move on to the Clippers and the Jazz. Let's see. Do we have the Nets starters? I'm assuming it's going to be the same starters for the Nets. We don't have that yet. If you guys are just coming in, if you could, hit that like button again. It helps me out a lot. And after this game, I'll get to some questions. So, Clippers and Utah Jazz. On the Clippers side, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, I think more contrarian spend-ups. Now, if you think that first game blows out, then obviously these guys become a lot more appealing. It's just a tougher matchup here. Both kind of struggled. But the positive with both these Clippers is the main guys. They should push for 40 minutes. So Kawhi and Paul George definitely in play. Might actually prefer the price on Paul George to Kawhi since he's, $1,100 cheaper. He shot 4 of 17, like an awful shooting game from Paul George, and still went for almost 40 fantasy points. So if I'm going to pick one of those two, I think it actually would be Paul George, but I don't think either are necessary. If I'm going to go to a star on the slate, in the late game at least, I think I would rather get to Mitchell. But, I'd probably rank the stars in this game, Mitchell, then Paul George, then Kawhi. Now, Reggie Jackson got in severe foul trouble last game. I think that makes him an interesting GPP play today. We know recency bias is big in DFS. So if he doesn't get in foul trouble, I think he could have pushed for 30 minutes. The last series against Dallas, he was hovering in the 30-minute range. So I do have some interest in Reggie. I think, again, more of a contrarian play. Hold on, guys. Sorry. I swear I have bad allergies, and I always get such an itchy nose when I stream. All right, so let's talk about Marcus Morris now in Batum. Again, the Clippers went from a 6-man rotation almost to an 11-man rotation, so that was a little bit tilting. Marcus Morris did still play over 30 minutes. I'm assuming if he stays out of foul trouble, we get over 30 minutes from him, which I think makes him a fair value. Maybe behind those Nets guys, but still playable for sure. Nick Batum was the guy that got his minutes slashed, and I'm not sure why because he played well. He's a good defender too, a guy that can knock down some shots. I think he should play more in this series. Again, I was a little bit surprised he only played 21 minutes. That was very, very tilting. Now, I do think that will lower the ownership, and I do think there's a chance Batum comes back and plays 35 minutes here. Right? It is possible, right? There's a number of different ways that goes. Batum plays really well. Morris gets in some foul trouble. Someone else in the Clippers gets in some foul trouble. It's possible. So I think Nick Batum is an intriguing, more contrarian value play. Again, not a good sign that he only played 21 minutes, but I still think there's a chance he plays more in this game, and that should come at pretty low ownership. Now, Ivica Zubac, I was a little bit surprised again that first they extended their rotation to 11 guys, and second that they went to Zubac because against 2 7-footers in Dallas, they went small. And the argument I made was Rudy Gobert is not a post-up center, so they don't need a big out there. But they went to Zubac. So assuming we get similar minutes of about 20, I think Zubac is a good value. My one concern is Ty Lue going to troll us again here? Are we going to go from everyone basically avoiding Zubac to everyone hopping onto Zubac and then Lue's barely going to play him? Right? Because game 5 and 6, he played 5 and 3 minutes. Barely played, or 6 and 7. Barely played. So, if I had to guess, I would say he gets similar minutes because he played so well. It's just, again, no guarantee. The Clippers bench rotation, I think, is the one where it's there's so many different ways it can go, right? So, I would say everyone on the Clippers bench is risky. There's risk involved with every single player on this bench. Now, Rondo, I think, might be a little bit over-owned after, again, playing 28 minutes the last game. The reason he played so much, you had Reggie Jackson in severe foul trouble. So if Reggie doesn't get in severe foul trouble, I think Rondo probably plays 15-ish minutes. And it's not like he played super well either when he was out there. 5 points, 5 boards, 6 assists, and not terrible. So I have interest in Rondo. Again, I'm not convinced, though, he's going to get close to 30 minutes again because he got a lot of that extra time because of Reggie foul trouble. And then Kennard was the one surprise that came out of nowhere and played 30 minutes. I think Kennard playable as well. Again, he's very, very light in scoring, not going to do a ton of the peripheral stats. And I also still there's a chance that if he plays bad, he plays 10 minutes. So, again, every single player has some risk here with the Clippers. Mann barely played. Beverly played a couple minutes. Cousins played a couple minutes. I don't have a ton of interest there. I think it's Zubac, Rondo, and Kennard you can take some shots on, but all three have some risk involved. So let's finish up with the Utah Jazz. And we got the news, the early news that Conley is out. So Donovan Mitchell, I think, makes for one of the better spend-ups. He's going to be, obviously the clear number one guy, and no one really in the Clippers can stay with him. So I think we get close to 40 minutes from Mitchell. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. He shot 30 times last game. I do think he makes for one of the better spend-ups of the slate. Rudy Gobert, I tried going there last slate against a small ball Clippers team. You mean to tell me that Rudy Gobert, supposed to be one of the best centers in the league, can't dominate a small ball Clippers team? I know, so I'm not going to play him on this slate. And I just already know he's going to have one of those games where he goes to 20 points, 20 boards, 5 blocks, and just breaks the slate, I'm going to be so mad after he sunk my lineup last slate. Is he still in play? Yes. Is he going to be low owned? Yes. Does he still have upside? Yeah, he does. Right? Because he should, in theory, if they start small again, he should be able to feast on the glass. But he didn't really last game. So, yeah, Gobert is someone that I'm intrigued by for tournaments. Again, I'm personally not going to go there, but I think the recency bias will lower the ownership. And then Clarkson and Joe Ingles, I think, are both good plays here with Mike Conley out. Joe Ingles should start, should play over 30 minutes. He had a bad shooting game last game. Shot 3 of 12. Still won for 22 fantasy points. Not bad. But if he has a decent, a better shooting game, he could have a lot better day. Plus, do we expect Donovan Mitchell to just, have that big of a game again, right? Maybe Mitchell comes a little bit back down to earth, and maybe there's more usage to go around for these secondary plays for the Jazz. So Ingles and Clarkson. Again, Clarkson started the game like 0 of 6, 0 of 7. I forget what it was. He finished 6 of 18, 27 fantasy points. If he has a slightly better shooting game, we know the upside's there with Clarkson. So Clarkson, Ingles, I like. I feel like everyone's just going to go to Mitchell, but don't forget about Clarkson and Ingles, right? I think these guys are a little, I guess, they're still going to be decently popular, but I think the masses are going to look to Mitchell first. But again, don't forget about Clarkson and Ingles. They get the big boost with Conley out. As I always say with Bojan, his role does not change like a Joe Harris. He's still a wing that is going to shoot threes, and that's about it. So he's fine. He just has to knock down the shots. Royce O'Neal, I think you can make the argument for. He's been playing big minutes. He's been playing well. More out there for his defense, but can knock down some shots, can get some peripheral stats. I think he's fine. I do. Like, the last 5 games, 30, 24, 29, 39, and 29 fantasy points. So I'm not going to talk you off Royce O'Neal if you want to go there. With Niang and Favors, these will be the other 2 guys in the rotation. Niang, probably about 15 minutes. Don't think it's necessary on the slate. Prefer other value. Favors, I always talk about Favors because he's a really good point per minute guy and hovers in the 12 to 15 minute range. And he can go out and get you 15 to 20 fantasy points in that time, right? He went for 17 last game. So, I don't mind going to Favors. I would say he's like a pretty similar play to a guy like Nick Claxton, right? We're expecting similar minutes, like 12 to 15 minutes off the bench. But if something happens, right, if we get foul trouble for Gobert, then Favors is going to come in and probably crush. If we get foul trouble for Blake Griffin, Claxton going to come in and probably crush. So you could play that, way and maybe play for the foul trouble. And if you do get the random foul trouble on either Gobert or Blake Griffin, right, if you're playing Claxton / Favors, then you're in amazing shape. So I think you can make the argument for him. Even if Gobert doesn't get in foul trouble, Favors can still get you there. He can still get you 15-ish fancy points. So I don't think it's the worst play. I don't think for my one lineup I would be super excited about doing it. But, yeah, still viable. And, again, in a 2-game slate, you got to get different somehow. So that is our Mac, guys, for the team-by-team breakdown. Let's see. Do we have the Nets starters? Again, I don't think anything's going to change here. We don't, but all right. So that's kind of it. Let's get to some questions, guys. Let's see. Where are we at as far as likes? We're at 68 likes and 244 viewers. Appreciate it, guys. Again, if you could leave a like button, it helps me out a ton. Did I miss another super chat? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miss one. So, yeah, leave some questions here. Best values. So, again, I like those Nets guys we went over. I think those Clippers guys are a little riskier, and guys like Rondo, Kennard, and Zubac, but I would say at least one of those guys get there. I think Brook Lopez is a pretty safe value play, too. That's kind of where I'm at. Tori, again, the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Let's see. What do you got? Mike James, Drew, Bruce Brown, Giannis, Lopez, Mitchell, Griffin, and Ingles. Really hate that I don't have a net star, but I want Giannis tonight and definitely not fading Mitchell. I think that's a good idea. So, it's either – I think what you do there is either you stick with Mitchell or you try to get to one of those net stars, but I'm good with what you're doing. I don't think you have to play KD or Kyrie, but they obviously are scary fades. I see no issue. I like the value you got in there. I like your spend-ups. Hoping Milwaukee can come through. I'm obviously playing for that game to stay competitive. Favors, Claxton, or Tucker. I mean, weird. It's weird, but Tucker's probably the safest. I think he should play the most minutes, but he's the worst point per minute by far. And the other two just depends on foul trouble. They're going to play 12 to 14 minutes, unless foul trouble happens. So I'll say, like, if you target Favors or Claxton, who do you think is a better chance getting in foul trouble, Blake Griffin or Rudy Gobert? If you ask me, I think there's a slightly better chance that Blake Griffin gets in foul trouble against Giannis. Kawhi or Mitchell, price doesn't matter. Mitchell. Claxton or Favors, need help with choosing between the two. Same thing I just said, right? Who do you think has a better chance of getting in foul trouble with the guys ahead of them? Because they're basically going to play 12 to 14 minutes unless either Blake or Gobert get in some foul trouble. Yeah, for me, it's Holiday over Gobert. I'm hoping the Bucks bounce back here. I like the matchup better. I'll go Holiday. Okay to play Jingles and Clarkson and Mitchell together. You can play all three. If you're asking me if I would do that, I probably wouldn't, because I want more exposure to the first game. But yeah, they're my three favorite plays in the Jazz. Biden and the Hawks will help. Wait, I don't understand that question. Forbes, Portis, or Kennard? Based on the Mets last game, I think Kennard. But like, do we get 30 again? Or if Kennard comes out in 20 minutes, and normally besides the last game, a pretty high usage guy, good point per guy. So safety wise, Portis. I don't mind rolling the dice in Kennard. I would rather play him over Forbes. I think there's chance he plays more minutes. But he's also comes with more risk. Best studs tonight. I think the guys in the first game plus Mitchell is where I'm looking to. Yeah. Kennard or Rondo? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because I just don't know what the Clippers are going to do with that bench rotation, right? Rondo got extended a lot because Reggie Jackson foul trouble. How much does he play if Reggie does get in foul trouble? Again, with Kennard, if he comes out and bricks his first few shots, I think there's a chance he gets limited. So I don't have a good answer for that because it kind of just depends on the game flow and what really happens. I think both have risk. I think the safest of that bunch is actually Zubac. If you throw Zubac in there with Kennard and Rondo. Yeah, I'll go Zubac there. I'm fine with over Mitchell there. Kyrie, Griffin, or KD and James. I'll go the Kyrie Griffin route. Pick two of Giannis, KD, Kyrie, and Mitchell. So price doesn't matter. It's going to be the two wings in Giannis and KD if you can afford them. Can you fade Mitchell? Yes. If I'm fading Mitchell though, I think I want to play one of Clarkson or Ingles then. If I don't have Mitchell in my lineup, then that means he maybe just has an average game and goes for 40 to 45 fantasy points. And if he has an average game, one of those secondary guys for the Jazz are stepping up. Unless something crazy happens, the Clippers just blow him out. But I think if I'm fading Mitchell, I'm trying to get to at least one of Ingles or Clarkson then. Joe Ingles or Bruce Brown, I think they're basically identical. I like them both a lot for value. Again, Ingles should play over 30 minutes. Brown about 25. I think that's basically a toss-up. I don't think Kennard starts. I would say he doesn't start. I would be kind of surprised if he does. What do you think of James, Mitchell, KD, Giannis, Griffin, Shamet, Brown, and Zubac? The one guy I don't love there is Shamet. I think there's just better value in the board for me to get Shamet, because Shamet's a guy that can play 10 to 15 minutes and get you 2 fancy points. He's a low usage guy. Kyrie, KD, and Spider Mitchell everywhere. Fine with that. Perfectly fine with that. All right, what else do we got here? Forbes, KD, or Kyrie Griffin? Kyrie Griffin. I don't really want to play Bryn Forbes. Paul George and Royce O'Neal, or Mitchell and Ingles. Mitchell and Ingles, and it's not even close by a wide margin. Ingles or Griffin. I'll say Griffin, but that's close too. So Bojan and Giannis or Middleton and Kawhi? I'll go to the Middleton Kawhi one. Paul George or Gobert. I'd rather have Paul George, and that's not close, actually. I think I would rather... Paul George would be the stud in Clippers I would use because he's a lot cheaper, and he had a terrible shooting game and still almost went for 40 fancy points. Middleton, let's see. Ingles or Griffin. Again, Griffin, but it's close. Mike James or Reggie. So are we talking like point per dollar here? Because there are a lot of different price points. Point per dollar, it is definitely Mike James for me. Straight up, it's Reggie, but they're at way different price points. Drew or Middleton. Yeah, Middleton's actually had the higher usage rate. I think I'll give the slight edge to Drew, though. Kind of just more of a gut feeling. I think he'll have to handle the ball more, right? I don't think they want to continue to have Giannis run the show. I think that their best offense is Drew Holiday on the point guard with Giannis pick and roll. That is what they should run more here. Mike James, Drew, Bruce Brown, Giannis, Lopez, Kyrie, Griffin, Zubac. I think it looks pretty good. 3.9K for utility would be James. So I think Mike James is 3.8. Yeah, I'd go. It's James or Zubac, but I think I would go James. Close. Shaman or Forbes? Forbes. Forbes has more upside if he's hitting his shots. Dual center of Zubac, Favors, or Claxton. You can punt. You can punt the center position. Again, with Favors, Claxton, right? They can still get it done in 12 to 14 minutes, but really what you're hoping for there is foul trouble from the guys above them on the depth chart. Min price, Claxton's min price, right? Or is he 3-1? Where's Claxton? Claxton is my favorite min price guy. Kyrie or Mitchell? See, that one's a tough one, right? Depends what the rest of your roster construction looks like. If you don't have Mitchell, you should get to one of Ingles or Clarkson, in my opinion. If you already have Ingles or Clarkson, then I'm fine going Kyrie. So it depends what the rest of your roster looks like. Mitchell, Ingles, Clarkson, the same lineup. Again, not something I'm looking to do really, unless you think the first game blows out. They are my top 3 favorite plays in the Jazz, but the first game just has a lot more upside. Thoughts on Mike James, Kyrie, Bruce Brown, KD, Zubac, Mitchell, Ingles, and Morris? I think it looks pretty good. Claxton or Tucker? Yeah, Claxton's the better point per minute guy. Tucker should play more minutes. I think I'll just rather roll the dice in Claxton. I think he can at least get 10 to 15 in that time, and then maybe if Blake Griffin gets in foul trouble, he could have a big upside game. Kawhi or Mitchell? Mitchell. Boogie breaks in the slate. He did get a couple minutes. I'm not expecting that again. Mitchell over Kawhi. Can you fade KD and Kyrie? If I'm fading if I'm fading both KD and Kyrie, I probably want to play at least 2, maybe even 3 of those Nets value guys. Yeah. So yes, you can, but then I'll try to load up on the Nets value if I'm doing that. Mike James, Mitchell, Ingles, Giannis, Lopez. Okay, yeah, Paul George should differentiate your lineup. Shaman or Forbes, again, Forbes there. Tucker or Favors. Again, with PJ Tucker, right, he'll play probably 25 to 30 minutes. Super, super low usage guy. He probably is a little bit safer, right? He's probably a little bit safer than Claxton and Favors just for the fact of he'll be on the court more and can maybe fall into some rebounds. And what you're hoping for is to knock down some threes. So Tucker is probably the cashy play, I guess, but upside-wise, I think there's more upside in Favors or Claxton, but you kind of need the foul trouble, right? So that's one where it's like you're playing for the foul trouble. Kind of like I talked about with Saric, right? Saric had a good game because Ayton got in some early foul trouble, and Saric played a little bit more. Yeah, I'm fine playing Mitchell and Ingles together. Ingles or Lopez, yeah, that one's a close one. I like them both for value. Slight edge to Ingles, but again, I like both. Drew over Gobert for me. White macadamia or chocolate oatmeal? Yeah, the second one for sure. That's not close. White macadamia is way too contrarian for me. Clarkson going to go under-owned? I think so, right? He shot 6 of 18 last time. He didn't have a big game. Everyone saw Mitchell go off. Again, I think Mitchell might be pretty popular, whereas Clarkson, I think, flies under the radar. If Clarkson has a decent shooting game, he goes for probably 40, right? So the upside's there with Clarkson for sure. I think he will. I agree. I think he'll be low-owned. Lopez or Griffin, that one's pretty close. I'll go Blake, but again, both good values. Tucker, Favors, or, yeah, again, kind of already went over that. I think Tucker's the cash play because he'll play 25 to 30 minutes. I don't really want to do it. I mean, no one I'm really recommending because I think you're any one of those guys, you're building a contrarian lineup. You're fading. If you go one of those guys, you're fading better value on the slate. So I kind of talked about that. Yeah, Tucker, 25 to 30 minutes, probably is the safest and can fall into some rebounds. Hope he gets you 15. Claxton, it favors. I think there is more upside, but you kind of need the foul trouble. So again, I'm not advocating. I have none. I have none of those three guys. I don't think it's worth it to do it on the slate unless you're trying to get pretty different. I think we get similar minutes for Zubac. Unless Ty Lue trolls us, I think we get similar minutes for Zubac. You collecting crowns, going for $1 million. Why not? Why not? All right, guys, so just hit over. We're at 6:01, so I got to get out of here, go stream for Patreon. Appreciate you guys coming to check out the stream. We hit 83 likes, close to 100, close enough. Appreciate all you guys that hit the like button. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Is it one game or two? Might only be one. I might be doing an early stream tomorrow too. If it is, there's 2 games. 2 games tomorrow, but yeah, I'll probably be doing an earlier stream. So be on the lookout for that. I'll talk about it more in my YouTube video tonight. So good luck, guys. Enjoy these games, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.